We are back in the Lighthouse Diary, outdoors, evening edition. And honestly, last night, from my recording this, so like November 1st, like at night, and then earlier this morning from where I'm recording, November 2nd, I was feeling flabbergasted, for lack of more accurate words. And again, it's like I tried to, express that, I want to, I typically try to share, as of late anyway, that I'm trying my best not to overshare. But I think it is important that somebody besides me hears the term enmeshment. So let me say that word again, enmeshment. And another term related to that is parentification. So I'm going to repeat that word one more time, just in case you didn't catch it, because there's obviously Toronto sounds going on. So the other word that I think might be helpful for somebody else is parentification. I'm contemplating actually posting below an article that I found yesterday, and it basically really hit me hard, and it gave me so much insight about borderline, and I thought I would share that. So and another thing, one of the main things that I wanted to share, besides what I just shared, I believe there is someone out there who may be watching this right now, who might even be introduced to me, right now, where, you might have felt this craving that you just needed this allowance to not only mourn, but, you felt like you needed permission to be angry at a perpetrator or an abuser, for lack of nicer words. And I guess I just want to share that you don't need permission to, feel upset, feel angry, feel hurt for what happened to you. And it doesn't make you a brat. It doesn't make you ungrateful to have those feelings, because if somebody else, were in your shoes and they experienced, what you did by somebody else, they would feel the same way. And this situation that I'm referring to, it had absolutely nothing to do with you as a person, and also it also had nothing to do with what you deserve in life. Absolutely nothing. I just really want to drive that home. I don't want to sound too repetitive, but I just really wanted to emphasize that, Sorry, just a moment. But the last thing that I want to share before I continue my evening stroll, before heading back to the house, just to get some air, not only just physically, but mentally as well. I just felt it so strongly, and I felt like it was such a time-sensitive thing that I share it, immediately, that, you may have been taught to be insecure about one thing, or a few things, or even a whole number of things. And I'm just wanting to relay the message, basically, that you may have thought that those were actually your battles that you had to overcome, but I'm basically trying to emphasize with the previous points earlier that it's actually so much deeper like than those insecurities that like you were like adopting from outside of you. But yeah, with that being said, I also want to drive home that the enemy, you know, the accuser, so on and so forth, you know, like which individual, which principality I'm talking about. They have been using, you know, those like insecurities that basically put on you like layers and layers of cloths, basically. And basically to keep you blindsided, to keep you like distracted from what was happening beyond those layers, is what I'm trying to say, you know? So with that being said, you know, with those terms that I have referred to specifically in the beginning of this message, I really do feel that those particular words may help clarify the actual root of, you know, what the battle truly is that you have been facing. And to be honest with you, like, you're not alone in this. Therefore, that's why, like, I am speaking on it, because I have experienced it myself. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it took some years of, you know, things like being unveiled, like those cloths being taken off of me, to be like, you know what, I wanted to ignore this root issue, you know, for a really long time. I wanted to pretend that it wasn't there, and then before you knew it, before I knew it, so sorry, just a second. But yeah, basically, you know, our Heavenly Father, like God the Father, had to really make it super obvious to me that, like, hey, this was kind of, you know, looming like in the shadows, like in the background of your life, and it needs to be faced, it needs to be accepted. And I'm just like, you know, it scares me that that was the reality that I was battling, you know, for honestly, even before puberty. If I'm being completely honest, it was quite disturbing having to like really accept, like, oh, these memories, they actually were things that happened, you know what I mean? And yeah, I if someone else who hasn't like experienced this kind of thing, like, don't be afraid for me, because, you know, like, I know that I've seen time and time again that, you know, I've been rescued quite a number of times. And, you know, anytime that I was like going through it, again, I'm pretty sure we touched on it briefly before, like, you know, God is able to use, you know, our shortcomings, our suffering. God is able to use all of those things, you know. But yeah, with that being said, you know, to the person who this message resonates with, I'm on your boat, you're in my boat, we're in the same boat. And I think you might have felt like growing up that this was something that you personally like felt embarrassed about, because I'm not gonna lie, like, even I was feeling like embarrassed about it, even though, you know, that dynamic, it just should not have been there. Like, there was literally no excuse for that dynamic to have been there at all. And I can say the same for your situation as well. They were the adults. They reached, you know, this is a term that I just learned about recently. They reached the age of accountability. And I can like basically break it down like another time. But yeah, at that time, like where it all started, like we weren't even at the age of accountability. And to be completely honest with you, like, I'm still like working towards that age of accountability. But and like obviously, like, our Heavenly Father is like preparing me for that as well. And But yeah, I also want to, like, as a little bonus to what I wanted to share today, that like it was just so urgent. God will always fill in the gaps, like in terms of like needs, and you know, God will always like fill in those gaps for real. I've seen that throughout my life, my whole life actually. Yeah, even when I had that time in my life, I know I'm going a little over. Even when I had that time in my life where I was having this phase where like, oh, God and religion are the same thing, and then, you know, I had to dig and dig and dig and dig, and then, you know, find out like, hey, that's not true. That's actually a lie, a very persistent lie, like in, you know, mainstream culture and that kind of thing. But yeah, we can get deeper into that like another day. But yeah, even then, like, God was filling in the gaps. God was rescuing me from things I will probably never comprehend, you know. And yeah, and he basically told me like, Kaylee, go outside. Kaylee, go outside. It's super important that you go outside. And I'm like, okay, I gotta listen to you. Like, I wanted to work on something else today, but like, if you were calling me to come outside, I gotta go outside. So like, I knew like just something was up. And yeah, it's just really sinking in. Like, I gotta be in the Lighthouse Diary for as long as I physically possibly can. Like, this is some real stuff that, you know, it needs to be talked about more often. And I've only saw like one video result thus far that was relevant to, you know, what we're talking about right now. Well, like, that's like explicitly like related to what we're talking about right now. So yeah, this was heavier, but yeah, sometimes heavier topics need to be had in the Lighthouse Diary, because yeah, it's just super necessary to shed light on darker things. It's just the nature of, you know, of life. So with that being said, stay safe, stay cozy, stay sincere to your healing self. And before I forget, I almost forgot to mention that when it comes to like feeling angry, stop associating it as like a dirty emotion. Like, if anything, like, God is like the one like qualified to help you through like any anger, any pain, any like anything along those lines. He is more than qualified. And we shouldn't have to feel so guilty for feeling angry that like, oh, it was such a dirty emotion, like I have to deal with it by myself. That's messed up. That's a lie. And I just wanted to share that before I call it for the day, this century. So I just want to give like a big virtual hug and see you in the next Lighthouse Diary entry.